Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. This week, we're talking about The Way of Kings, chapters 46 and 47, wherein we get kind of a flashback slash, I guess it meets where we started this book. So we get to know a little bit more about what happened with Kaladin on the battlefield when all of his men started to die. So that's good. We got some extra info there. And then we flash forward to Kaladin currently. And he meets up with another friend of ours. Well, I use that term loosely. And kind of has some interesting thoughts. And I think there's going to be some excitement coming soon. So I'm very excited about these chapters. With me, as always, is
Jaymee,
Data,
and Dak.
We're all here this week. We're ready to talk about these chapters, so hold on to something. Sanderlanche is about to begin.
So yeah, we did 2 more chapters this week, and I want to apologize up front. I'm kind of hoarse, so if I sound weird, that's why. 2 chapters this week. However, Jaymee is back, and she didn't get a chance to talk about the 2 chapters we did last week. So let's go into our what did you guys think of these chapters overall, and Jaymee can just regale us with her thoughts on all 4.
Thanks. Settle in, everybody. Share my opinions with you. Yes, sorry about last week, folks. I actually ended up reading all of those chapters today, so they're all pretty fresh in my head. So, where do we start? We've got the flashback with the family, and then Roshon addressing them with Amaram coming through. Yeah, I was getting very Hunger Games vibe, I volunteer as tribute. And I was like, oh no. And when Kaladin's sitting there going, oh no, they can't take me, I'm safe, I didn't think about Tien in that moment. And then when they read his name, I was like, oh no. And it makes sense. It does make sense for it to kind of go that way. So I'm glad that Kaladin was going to go with Tien. Obviously things did not go well for Tien, but that's sad that that's happened to their family, because I really like them, and Liren's a smart guy, and he's trying to figure out the best way to get his family through this, and they're so close to being able to send Kaladin away to study. So yeah, that's all very, very sad and depressing. I'm a bit worried about Laurel, with her bride's prayer. I was really hoping, I was like, please tell me they're gonna she's gonna marry Amaram or something, not not Roshon, but we're not there yet. We'll see what happens there. Shallan's chapter. Yeah, we've known for a little while she's getting closer and closer to something. Obviously, she's working towards leaving. I'm glad that kind of came up. Also thought it was a bit brave that she tells Capsol and then they go back where Yasna is and it doesn't get brought up. It's like, well, you haven't told Yasna you're leaving. That's kind of a big thing there, and she'll be super pissed off if she finds out from Capsol that you're intending to go. Obviously that didn't come up, but I was a little on edge about that as that was happening.
She didn't even tell Capsol, don't mention this to Yasna or anything. So
no,
you're right. I
was like, oh my God, he's going to spill the beans, and that's just not going to go well for anybody. But I didn't expect for our the drawing to come back so now, really. But I'm glad we're kind of getting a bit of an answer there. She's drawing these figures, and that was terrifying, stopping and just drawing something, and then she's unconsciously drawing these figures, watching her everywhere. Oh my goodness, what is going on here? And then to go through what she went through in the soul casting and turning things into blood, I was like, oh, this is the stuff of nightmares. If I had to stop there, that's incredibly traumatic, and I reckon I would have been thinking about that way more than what I probably will now that I've read the next couple of chapters, even though Shallan hasn't gone anywhere else. She's still in that state. It's not. I'm sure it's not the intention of the chapter, but she's given herself a cut that's not too bad. But then they're going to expect to believe that all this blood came out of it. Like, quick thinking, but that's a lot of blood to come out of a not too bad cut in her hand. So I don't know why my brain went there, but that's where it went. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to reading where Shallan goes to and the next step of her journey, and whether she leaves or not, or whatever's going to happen. And then I guess into today's chapters, Odium. Good job, Dak. Well done. I had a big grin on my face. I was like, Dak's going to be so happy. But yeah, also kind of, we've now got a couple of viewpoints in a storm, whether they're actually in the storm or in a dream, or there's weird things happening to each of our main characters. So it was kind of good to see, even though he's not like necessarily, well, are they in a high storm? Or he was just dreaming about being in a storm? Because it was actually raining.
Yeah, there seemed to be, like, when he wakes up, he was like, oh, right, there's supposed to be a high storm tonight. So it was, like, the dream seems to take place during a high storm.
During a high storm. Okay, cool. And then, I mean, not a lot. There's a lot of grooming happening in this chapter. Yeah, obviously Gaz has had a bit of a power shift on him where he's not really able to make any choices. And getting a parshman in their crew, I was like, oh, that's different on so many levels. But you know, I like how Kaladin's just gone, nope, it's just another one in the crew. Let's do it the same way. So yeah, sort of keen to see what will happen there. We haven't really had anything to do with the parshman. I mean, other than what's his name? And was he a parshman?
What's his name? I don't know.
Seth.
Oh no, Seth is from Shinovar. He's not a parshman.
No, completely different. Okay, so no parshman. So that will be interesting to see whether he does just speak up eventually, or what happens there. And then the last chapter, the flashback back to where we began, really, that's a pretty intense battle. But the fact that he won a shard blade and then left it, I didn't see that coming. I understand his reasons for not taking it, but like, what happened to it? Can someone else just take that shard blade now? Like, that's also horrific battle. This guy, he must just be completely traumatized, and he is, yes, but that's like next level. Watching this kid who you're like, is like your brother that you've already lost, and then losing everybody else and being, you know, one of 6 standing at the very end. That's incredible. So, yeah, I mean, I've got some ideas of maybe what happens next, but I'll share them at the end. Good chapters, definitely getting into the meaty part of the book now, or a hint of a crossover at some of our, I guess, main storylines. Kind of the first real one we've had, and some weird stuff happening to everybody. So I'm really excited to keep going.
I like what you said. I like when you said that you didn't see it coming when Tien getting drafted, because when we recorded last week, Joe was like, oh, as soon as they were like Kaladin safe, like Joe knew where it was going. But I'm with you. The first time I read it, it caught me completely off guard that they're like, wait, Tien is, oh no.
Yeah, it was very much kind of a side swipe from me. I don't know if it's just, you know, not in the headspace or anything. You look back on it now and you go, okay, well, something's got to happen to Tien, but all these little bits of, you know, information about Tien over the time, and you're thinking, oh, no one's going to take him to war. Like, that's just not going to happen. But as a revenge act, yeah, that's pretty low. It's pretty heartbreaking.
It really is. And then I have to ask, how do you feel about Cabsol and his he's like, hey, Shallan, what if I went to Yak Kaved with you?
Yeah, I'm not entirely surprised by that, given the interactions they had previously. I still don't trust him. You know, Yasna's smart enough to not have the jam and bread that he keeps offering. He could go, but maybe not. I don't know. It could be, you know, how we weren't like a big fan of Elend originally.
Mm-hmm.
and then he turned out to be a really cool character. I don't think Cabcell's going to be so cool like Elend, but I don't know. I'm kind of 6 of 1, about it. I think if the pair of them run off together, that's going to look kind of weird. But maybe he'll follow. Maybe he'll be like a source of knowledge for her. I don't know. I think it was a bit bold of him, but also she's not been a part of that relationship. We'll see. Obviously, things have changed a little bit now. Now she's cut her hand and there's blood everywhere, and
Right.
Who knows what she's going to do.
I mean, she didn't seem particularly interested in him when he was like asking these questions. She's like, "Oh, this is awkward."
Like awkward, but she has hinted before that she's kind of attracted to him.
Yeah.
But it couldn't happen. She's here for other things. Like, on some level, I wouldn't be surprised if she had more feelings for him that she's not willing to admit, but he does come on pretty strong. And she does have a job to do here, but she seems to have pretty much made her decision to, let him down and see what happens there.
I also like your comment that Yasna is smart enough not to have any of the bread and jam. What do we think that he's rocking up with like poison jam for Yasna? Like, here's your special jam, Yasna.
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was putting something in the jam.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay, he lost me when he started talking about like the truth berries or whatever they were.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you trying to do here? What are you, I'm not saying he's out to poison Shallan or anything, but wouldn't surprise me if he put something in there to intoxicate her somewhere.
Interesting. Yeah. Get her trying to like not I was gonna say roofie her, but that's not exactly what's happening here. But
not quite roofie either. Like, not to like not that level, but just free the inhibitions a little bit, and she might say something. Like, I don't think he's got anything actually in mind to harm her or do anything to her, but to get information from her, I think is where he's going with that.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
All right. So these chapters, I think these are probably like, and Shallan's chapter, I would say, from the last section. I think these are the first like 3 chapters that I've like been super excited. Like, everything seems to be maybe. I like how it says everything seems to be maybe, but everything. It seems to me like maybe we're finally getting in motion on the Sanderlanche and coming through the end of the book. And with a book this large, I think 2/3 of the way through the book is probably a good place to start that. Hopefully. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what comes next. So as far as these chapters go, the flashback provided a different perspective from basically what was the first chapter, it seemed like to me anyway. So that was really cool. We get to be inside Kaladin's head as opposed to inside, some new recruit's head on the battlefield. And we got more of the story because, that one character died, and that's where the chapter ended. The first chapter ended. So we get more of the story. We still don't know what killed Tien, but we know that, the things leading up to Kaladin leaving, being branded a slave or whatever, traitor and then a slave or whatever the case may be, we must be in and around that portion. I was also shocked that he gave away the shard blade, or excuse me, not shocked that he gave away the shard blade. I was shocked who he gave it away to. It was just like one of his men, like, here you go, have it. Which, like, Amaram was right there. It's like, you could have given it to him, man. He's the guy that you fight for. So if you didn't want it, you could have given it to him. But whatever. At the very least, that probably would have given him a promotion to the Shattered Plains. But at that point, he was very much over his role because all of his people had died. So, in that moment, he was probably just like, I don't care, you have it. So we have that piece. We get a lot more of Kaladin's backstory that's closer to where our story actually started, which is good. It's nice getting to see inside his head and that he himself has defeated a shard bearer. Like, really cool to know that. And so we have that portion done, and then we flash forward to Kaladin, in current time on the Shattered Plains, and he comes across, I guess, Adolin, right? And Adolin, however you say that. And then he's got some plans brewing, but he's getting pretty nervous on how he's going to pull them off, talking about curse, and then again, Dak called it with odium. We get an odium reference, and this like freaks Syl out. So like I'm very interested to know like what is going on. And then this disembodied face voice talking to Kaladin. Like there's so many questions, so much interest being drawn. And so I have some thoughts about that we can get to in predicaments. But yeah, I really enjoyed these chapters, and I'm hoping that we're finally kind of getting closer to Sanderlanche starting. So
we definitely had some stuff going on. I mean, we're approaching the end of part 3, so that may be part of it. Is you got to rev up a little bit at the end of a part to justify the sectioning off.
Don't rain on my parade, bro.
But no, yeah, we like you said, we're 2/3 of the way through the book at the beginning of this section, so it may be time for things to start revving up. You make an interesting point about giving you could have given a thing to Amaram. Maybe that would have gotten him, something in return. Who knows? I'm imagining like, what if he'd succeeded? Like, what if he did that and or this never happened and he just like his squad was really great and he got sent off to the Shattered Plain. Imagine the story with like Kaladin and his squad and they're in Sadeas's army and what we see Sadeas and his people doing. Like that would be a very different sort of situation.
You're right. Like obviously, I mean, the story is the way it is for a reason, and that would be a completely different situation. But it's like those. I mean, somebody could probably, not that they would want to, but they could probably write like some fan fiction. Like people are always writing fan fiction. What if Harry got put in Slytherin? So like you could do it. You could write something like that.
I read a fan fiction once where Dumbledore takes baby Harry Potter and leaves him with Harry Dresden. And it was pretty funny.
That's interesting.
Harry Dresden tried to raise Harry Potter? That would be insanity.
As I recall, it was a very short story, and it skips over like the majority of him raising him, and then you cut to like a final confrontation between Harry and Voldemort, where Harry Potter just pulls out a huge pistol and shoots Voldemort in the face or something.
Yep.
Fun
sure.
times.
That's the way to do it, I guess. If you're raised by a gun-wielding Chicagonite? What do they call people?
I think it's
Chicagoan.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Going. But yeah, I'm with you. I hope that this is the beginning of nonstop excitement for the podcast as we continue.
What do you mean you're with me? Like you haven't read this before?
So that doesn't mean
get
that
out of here.
It doesn't mean that I can't hope for things.
It actually does, because you know the outcome. You can't hope for something you know the outcome of.
Sure you can. I might be wrong.
How? How would you be wrong?
Like I can hope for something and then it doesn't happen. It's fine. Every time
but
I
not
read
in this
certain
situation.
Every time I read certain books, I'm like, maybe this time my favorite character won't die at the end.
No, it's not what?
So yeah, okay. We've gotten 2 people mentioning that Dak called. We had the odium call out. So Dak, what do you got? What do you think of these chapters?
Well, yeah, I called it. Let's not belabor that point. I was like, I felt vindicated, but I was like, all right, that's cool. But yeah, I think the most fascinating thing about it was just Syl's reaction. It's like, okay, there's clearly a lot more there than we thought. We've speculated before, it's like there's got to be something different about Syl. She's not just a Windspren, or like something's different about her. The fact that she knows the name as well and has that strong of a reaction to it, she's got a I don't know what the deal is there. But I agree. I think these chapters, I feel like things are kicking into gear. We're learning more, we're seeing more. Even though it seemed like a bit of a footnote to all the other exciting things that happened, Kaladin and Adolin met each other, which has got to be a bit of a turning point, I think. I'm really curious about Sigzil. Like, talk about Dark Horse candidate for interesting character, considering we really only started to get to know him in the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I quite like his character. I know I've heard World Singer, but I can't quite remember what the context was. Now the guy's like, oh yeah, this guy must be a world singer, and he's just like, oh, fuck you all, I am not talking about that. So that was fascinating. And yeah, the flashback, I'm like, all right, that was like, we've had plenty of battle scenes in this book, but because unless they were from Dalinar's perspective, like they were exciting, but the ones from Kaladin's perspective were just bleak because it's just him and his guys trying not to die. So we had Kaladin's flashback and seeing him actually in action as a soldier for the first time since that first chapter way back when. Like, all right, cool. This is the cool shit that we came here to see. And he takes down a Shardblade bearer, and it's like it was just a very exciting fight. Even though it's like sort of a foregone conclusion. Yeah, okay,
he's not going to die.
Yeah, he's not going to die. But it was still fun just to think, oh shit, it's not so much is he going to get out of this, but how is he going to get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was really cool, and yeah, it's just the sort of he refused the Shardblade. I can totally see Amaram, like as a traditional Bright Lord, just like taking, what does that mean? What is this guy about? I can't predict this guy anymore. I have to get rid of him. So it's like as soon as he did that, I'm just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, no, these were exciting chapters. Which we've had plenty of good chapters lately. We've had plenty of interesting chapters, but these ones were exciting, and that was cool.
I mean, yeah, I'll agree with that. They are pretty exciting, and it's fun to have a. We're so used to, like, from Mistborn and stuff, these interesting fights where our main characters are the main component of the fight, right? And then we get into, in these books so far, like Dalinar has been in a fight a couple of times, but he's kind of avoided them for the most part, and Kaladin is usually off on the edge of the fight, not actually involved. So just seeing, like, it's been in the middle of the action is. Oh, that's true.
Seth did the heavy lifting on fun action this book.
You're right.
So far. I mean, the Chasm Fiend fight I think was probably the best fight so far in this book, best action scene. But well, actually I don't know. Seth at the start of the book was also. Anyway, yes, like maybe it's just the length of the book. But it's like, oh yeah, we've actually got some really dynamic action going for what seems like the first time in a while.
Well, minor spoiler, you guys will get some interesting action in one of the upcoming interludes, so you'll hopefully enjoy that.
Seth!
And I will also say that World Singer may sound familiar to you because it is very similar to something we heard in Mistborn, which was Quan and the other Terracemen were world bringers.
Okay.
And that's when we're reading Quan's, like, musings in Well of Ascension. He's like, I brought this to the other world bringers and they laughed at me or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Brandon has said that the similarity between those two words on these two planets is not a coincidence.
Okay.
But I don't think that we've seen world singers before this part of this book. So.
Okay. Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, if Sigil comes out with the thinking tree theory, then oh man. That's going to be bizarre. Maybe, like, I know the whole thing was Rashek turned his other buddies into the first Kandra, but it's like, yeah, instead he just punted Quan off the planet and he flew away into the Cosmere and landed on Roshar.
That would be funny.
To be fair, if there's ever a planet where the trees think, it's probably this one.
I mean, yeah, don't we hear about some weird trees just in these very chapters?
Yeah.
Yeah, to be the ones that lie down.
Yeah.
They take a little nap. It's
Smart
all good.
trees.
Yep. All right, let's get into these chapters. First one that we read is 46, Child of Tanavast, whoever that is. The epigraph says, though I was due for dinner in Veden City that night, I insisted upon visiting Kholinar to speak with Tiv Bet. The tariffs through Urithiru were growing quite unreasonable. By then, the so-called Radiants had already begun to show their true nature. And I do like the note following it is, following the firing of the original Planium, only one page of Turksum's autobiography remained. So apparently at some point the original Planium, all the stuff was burned. So that's unfortunate. I hate when they do that. But interesting things you can take from this one quote is Veden City and Kholinar nowhere near each other, but he's going to stop in one on the way to dinner in the other, and he's going to go through this mythical city of Urithiru that we've heard of to do it. And apparently you have to pay taxes for that. So it's like a toll.
He's clearly a master of evasive strategy.
And it's funny because if you look at the map, like, we don't know where Urithiru may have been, except that Yasna told Shallan pretty decisively that it was not in Nata Natan, where the Shattered Plains are. But if you look at the world map, it's like Kholinar and what is now Vedenar, so that would have been Veden City, are very far apart. And if you had to go through, like, the Shattered Plains to get there, that would be ridiculous.
looking at the map and I can't see Vednar. Where the hell is it?
Vednar is at the very southern tip of Yakaved.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's quite a round trip if you're going through via the Shattered Plains.
So we start with Kaladin in a dream. He dreamed he was the storm. And so basically it's a very, for Brandon, I feel like it's kind of a flowery section with a lot of description of him floating through the air and all the stuff that he sees as the storm progresses across the continent. He sees one place that he thinks might be the Horn-Eater Peaks, where Rock is from. Majestic mountains densely populated at their tips, with villages clustered near vents that emitted steam or lava. He's like, oh, is that the peaks? Wow, okay. And then he sees some people who've been fighting, and he's like, oh man, how many wars are people fighting in the world? Jeez. A kingdom where people are dark-skinned like Sigzil. A city built in troughs in the ground that look like giant claw marks. Kind of a evocative image.
Yeah, I love chapters like this. They happen quite frequently in A Song of Ice and Fire, where it's just like it's all very cryptic, symbolic foreshadowing of stuff that's going to come out, and it turns out things might be a bit more literal than you think. So knowing what little we know of like the Voidbringers or like the giant lobster monster from that drawing, I'm just like that could easily be a literal claw marks.
That could be interesting. If they're building whole cities in the claw marks, those are pretty huge claw marks.
Yep.
People with faintly blue veins beneath their skin, which we hear something about later. A city where people live in giant hollowed out stalactites. That's kind of cool. It reminds me of one of the air temples in Avatar. What is that? This is the Eastern air temple, I think. No, the Western one.
That was Western, the one hanging off the wall.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the new show yet? Digression.
I started the first episode. And
We've watched it.
The bending looks terrific. I like the way that they did that.
Oh, visually the whole show is phenomenal.
I was very disappointed that we don't get to see like Gyatso be a super badass and end up with like mountains of dead Fire Nation guys around his corpse like in the show.
Yeah.
That was a missed opportunity, I feel like.
Yeah, I only saw the first episode, but yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh man, that's not really how it happens in the. But we don't even know if in that show, in the live action, he faces off against the actual Sozin. So it's like, well, maybe that doesn't happen.
I got to the part of the episode where it cuts to Katara and like her first line or so, and I was discouraged by the acting ability of this person in the one line, and I was like, I'll come back to this later. So hopefully it improves past that. That's just where I am now.
Yeah, I think having seen the whole season, I'm just like, she might be the weak link among the main cast. She's not bad,
right?
And I did spend a lot of it thinking, is it that her acting ability is not quite as high, or is it the direction she's given? Because I could see it being either.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, probably the standout of the cast would probably have to be the fella playing Sokka.
Oh.
I think most of the rest of the cast does a phenomenal job. I guess Aang does as well, but like as far as acting combined with writing, I think Sokka does the best. But that might be just there are some things about the writing I disagree with in this show. There are some things I think that they did really well, and there's actually one little detail in Zuko's story which I think, oh, that's a nice little touch that is actually like. You could argue it's like a missed opportunity from the animated show that this show capitalized on, which I won't spoil, but and it's only a little thing, but it was cool. But yeah, like I think the writing lets the show down a bit.
I love Sokka, I love Toph, and in the original series, but Katara was always my favorite character, and so I'm a little bit discouraged if she's not great in the live action. Okay, sorry people. That was our Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Our Avatar, our Avatar moment. It's fun.
Okay, keep going. He's blowing across the continent, seeing all sorts of interesting stuff. He rustled the skirts of tall, golden-haired serving women carrying trays of food or steaming towels, and then we get a little, maybe a glimpse of something else that we know. Where Kaladin,
hey Seth.
Yeah, he bursts through a door as the wind, and he sees a Shin guy wearing white standing over two corpses. And it almost seems like he can see Kaladin, but then he's gone again. And as he nears the ocean, On the other end of the continent, the voice starts. Child of Tanavast, child of honor, child of one long since departed. The oath pact was shattered. Men ride the storms no longer. The oath pact is broken, child of honor. And Kaladin's like, I don't understand. Can you explain, please? And the voice is just like, Odium comes, most dangerous of all the 16. You will go now.
So, man, confirmation, 16, Odium. Wowzers.
Yeah, that does seem to be a pretty clear confirmation.
Yep.
And then he's like, I guess in Kaladin's mind, he's talking to God at this point, or some sort of equivalent. And so he's like, he's got to ask one of those big, like, meaning of life questions. He's like, wait. Let me get a question in. Why is there so much war? Why must we always fight? And at first, it doesn't seem like he's going to get answered. And then the voice softly answers, Odium reigns. And that's the end of his dream.
When he was in the storm before and he saw the face, I think I predicted at the time, it's like, oh, maybe that's Odium if he like took over Desolation's gig. This would seem to indicate that is not the case, because unless this guy's unless Odium's pulling a fast one, saying it's like, Odium's coming, beware. And inside he's just got him.
He just likes to talk about himself in the third person. You know how it is.
Yep.
But yeah, he wakes up and he's standing like in the doorway to go out into the storm, and everyone's like they had to like tackle him and hold him down because he tried to just walk out into the storm. And Rock's like, yeah, don't do that. We don't want you spending another 2 weeks sick in bed, right? And Sigil's like, you wouldn't wake up, man. You were like having some fever dream. And then he takes a breath to force away the fatigue that he's feeling, and suddenly the sphere in the corner goes dark. And Moash is like, damn it, that eel Gaz has been giving us dun spheres again. I mean, you should have hung that one out and charged it, my man. The storm just passed.
Well, I mean, they thought it was charged. That was the point.
Well, no, I doubt that Gaz gave them this one if the storm just passed. Like, he probably hasn't handed any out yet. And then they go out in the riddance of the storm when there's just rain falling down, and they take a shower, tossing the soap around, getting shaves. Rock is like, not only is he a cook, he's like a barber. He's giving everyone a good shave. Who wants one? And Kaladin's like, you know what? Maybe it's time I get shaved. He's like, well, this is a new experience having someone else like use a razor on me. It's kind of freaky. I've never, gotten a professional shave, so I would also probably find it very strange.
I got one time, and it was not the guy doing it did not do a good job, so I can't report positively on it.
That sucks.
I imagine it would be really unnerving, having never, gone to have a shave myself. But I get very, Sweeney Todd vibes. It's like you have very sharp objects very close to vital parts of my body. Like,
yeah, right.
No.
Kind of freaky. I agree. And they have a discussion about, Sigil's like, oh, now that you're shaved, you've got like a very strong square lines of face. It would be called a leader's face among my people. Kaladin's like, I've no light eyes. And they're like, why do you hate the light eyes, so much? Would you cast them down and rule in their place? And Kaladin's like, no. You don't want to punish the people who've done this to you? No, I'd be happy to punish them. I just don't want to take their place. Nor do I wish to join them, which we've heard the rumor is if you get a shard blade, you become a light eyes. So this is a little foreshadowing of I don't want to join them. Moash, on the other hand, is like, oh, I would be all over joining them. That's why I'm here in the first place. I want to get myself one of them shard blades.
Fucking course, Moash. I will unjustly shit on this guy for till the end of time.
Well, he's like, if I were in charge, the light eyes would be working the mines and dying by running bridges against Parshendi arrows, which, I mean, you can't say that he doesn't have a reason to be pissed off about that stuff.
Yeah, but it's like it's just the typical. It's like, yeah, it's very now you are the ones who are the ball lickers energy.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh man, just stop.
And like Sigil kind of points it out as the discussion continues that like what Moash is saying is how people do. Like I would be in charge and everything would be the same. There would still be horrible atrocities done. It would just be the people I don't like. And Sigil's like, yeah, that's about how it is everywhere. That's what happens, regardless of what system you use to decide who's in charge. Because he gives us a story about Baba Tharnum, a place where they have trees that just lie down when the high storm comes, as if built on hinges. They also have like blue veins under their skin, and Kaladin's like, wait a second, I saw something like that. Sigil was thrown into prison 3 times while he and his master were visiting there. But the reason he brings them up is because in Badatharnum, the king is called the most ancient, and whoever is the oldest person gets to be in charge. And Moash is like, yeah, that's fair. Better than deciding based on eye color. And Sigil's like, yeah, they're very fair. Currently, the Monavaka dynasty reigns. And like, wait, how do you get a dynasty if it's based on age? Oh, it's easy. You just kill anyone else who starts getting old enough to challenge you.
Kaladin's like, fucking Yoda's hardcore.
No joke. Now I'm imagining Yoda as the king of this country. Thank you so much. And so, like, it's been 50 years since somebody outside of this family became the most ancient. All the others get assassinated or exiled or die on the battlefield. They're sending like 70-year-old guys out onto the battlefield. Like, yeah, no, it'll be great. Go on.
It's like the opposite of the planet on the desert planet in Futurama. There's still a lot of killing, but nobody's, it's the same family over and over.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done on Futurama. The king should have just drank everybody who would oppose him.
That's how you do it. Fix everything. And I do like Moash joined up thinking he'd become a spearman and he could win himself a shard blade, but instead he got sent to the bridge cruise. And he's like, this plan better work, lordling. Last time I ran away, I got a beating. And I was told if I tried again, I'd get a slave's mark instead. Which, how does that work? Like, you're not free to leave, even if you're not a slave? That sounds like you're a slave, my man. I mean, I guess joining the army, you have to stay in the army. Okay, I wasn't really thinking of it that way. But it's also like, if you try to desert the army, you get turned into a slave, which is messed up.
What was that cult in The Simpsons that they all got brainwashed into joining? It's like, oh, lady, people are free to leave whenever they want. And you see like the people caught on the fence or the dogs chasing up a tree or whatever.
Oh, yeah, the one with the spaceship cult.
Yeah.
The episode, I remember that episode, The Joys of Sect.
That's right, yeah.
What's that cult called? Now I gotta find out. The Movementarians. That's what.
That's right.
Classic. And then Moash is out here talking about learning to use the spear. I was like, dude, shut up. You don't talk about that. We don't talk about Fight Club. Rule number 1 and rule number 2.
God damn it, Moash.
And like Rock comes up like, oh, Babatharnum, I've heard of that. My cousin visited there one time. Very tasty snails. All right, my man. If you say so. I mean, they eat horns and shells, so they might eat the whole snail.
Crunchy. Maybe that's a breakfast cereal. Snailos.
Could be. It's a bunch of crunch of snails.
Yeah.
And then Rock's like, hey, I've seen your people before. Sigil, you're one of those world singers, right? And then Sigil freezes and just turns around and stalks away. And he's like, well, what's up with that guy? Like,
yeah, touched a nerve somehow.
Right? World singers travel to each kingdom and tell the people of other kingdoms, much as Sigil was just doing. And Dunny's like, hey, Sigil said he was going to tell me about my homeland.
Shut up, Dunny.
We learned that Dunny has violet eyes, which means that he has some Vedin blood in him. And Rock's like, oh, that makes us cousins. Sometimes the people in Vedinar, that's right next to the peaks, sometimes they have good red hair like us. So I guess Shalon is a cousin to the Horn Eaters or something.
Distant cousin. Cousin.
Exactly.
How the hell that works.
And so Gaz shows up to distribute new bridgemen again. And he's like, yeah, don't yell at me this time or like try to beat me up or whatever, because I get no say in this anymore. Brightness Hashal is making all the assignments herself. In the name of her husband, of course, he adds. She gave you 1. Which one? He better be tall enough to carry a bridge. Oh, yeah, he's tall enough. Good worker, too. And it is a parchman with his black and red marbled skin, which we established early on that the parchmen were not used to run bridges because they are more expensive than regular slaves because they're so much better. So they didn't use them for this. But apparently Hashal wants to make a test to see if a parchman works on a bridge crew.
Which I can only speculate that she thinks, well, the Parshendi aren't going to shoot at the Parshmen. Like, I don't.
Maybe. Yeah.
So they'll shoot at the other guys. I don't know. It's weird. Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Teft is like, no, this is idiocy. He's going to betray us or refuse to carry the bridge against his, relations or whatever. And Gas is like, well, yeah, this will tell us if that happens. If he kills you all in your sleep, we'll know it's not a good idea to use parchment on the bridge crews. Is essentially what I'm getting out of this. Everyone else is ready to just like hate on this guy, this new bridgeman, because parchment are the enemy. And somebody's like, oh no, this is a great idea. We can put him in the front and he'll catch an arrow. It's awesome. In the meantime, Kaladin is remembering some words spoken by a man who cared only for his own skin. Turn a liability into an advantage whenever you can. And so he decides he asks the parchment what his name is, and the guy just kind of shrugs. He's like, okay, how about Shen? Shrug. Okay, here we go. This is Shen. Lopen is over here. I don't like him, Gancho. Look how he stares at me. And Kaladin's like, they all want to, treat him badly. And Kaladin's like, no, he's one of us now. Whatever he was before, we're Bridge 4. He's Bridge 4 now. We treat him like everyone else. If we treat him like the Light Eyes treat us, then we're as bad as they are. So, and I do like Teft's like, I don't like it. I'll watch him. You're young. I'm old. And he's like, oh, does that make me wiser? No. It just proves that I have more experience staying alive than you. So, which is true. I mean, that is what that means. And then Kaladin goes out for a walk to do some thinking while everyone is getting stuff ready. He's like, I don't know how we're going to do this. Like, this is an impossible task that I've set before myself. And he's also thinking how he always lives when everybody else dies, and he thinks he's cursed or something. Maybe the Almighty hates me. And Syl's like, oh, that's dumb. If anything, he'd hate the people who died, not you. And then he asks Syl if she believes in the Almighty. And she's like, I don't know. Huh. I feel like I should know that one, but I don't. Maybe? He starts to ask Syl about this name, Odium. And Syl hisses a feral, disturbing sound and then zips away. And while he's like, what the hell just happened there? There is a series of curses and a half-naked woman shoved out into the street. And she falls at the feet of a man with with bright blue eyes, a coat carried over one arm, red knots on the shoulder. It is a light-eyed officer, though not a very high-ranking one, that comes out behind her, I guess, after shoving her. And he's cursing at her, doesn't even bother to do up his buttons, kicks her. Which, geez, that's nice. And Kaladin, a crowd has started to gather to watch this, and Kaladin is going to push his way through. He's determined to do something, though what on earth he thought he was going to do, who knows. When three men step out of the crowd, one, Light Eyes, very high-ranking, second or third Dan by the knots on his shoulder. Also, not from Sadeas' army, because they have well-pressed blue coats. And I don't know how long it was before people figured out who this might be, but
I'll be honest, it took me a while.
Yeah.
When they described his hair, that's when I was like, oh yeah, it's got to be Adolin.
That's kind of where I get it too.
Agreed, a hair. I was like, oh, who do we know that's a high-ranking, blue coat wearing guy? And at first I was like, oh, maybe Kaladin and Dalinar will cross paths. And I was like, no, it's not Dalinar. It wouldn't be Dalinar there. That doesn't make sense. Who do we know that goes around? And then I was like, it's got to be Adolin.
So he's light golden hair, speckled with a Lethe black, and a handsome face. So Kaladin thinks he's handsome. He at least agrees with Adolin's own assessment of himself.
I mean, Adolin seems to pull in a new girlfriend every few days. So if he had a face like Wolverine hacked in half with an axe, then he probably wouldn't be getting that many dates.
True. So Adolin steps forward. He's like, hey, whatever your problem is, I'm sure we can resolve it without violence or anger. He says it affably, like he's a friendly dude. And the other guy's like, she's a whore. He's like, yeah, I see that. And he holds out his hand, and the other guy spits in it. He's like, uh-huh. And so, having tried to play nice, Adolin holds out his hand, and all of a sudden there's a giant-ass shard blade in it. And now people are concerned, and everyone runs. And actually, it's left with Kaladin is the only guy in the street, except for Adolin and his posse and this woman on the ground. So, everyone is smart enough to get away from the shard bearer who somebody might have just pissed off by spitting on him, except for Kaladin, who's just like, I got to see how this plays out. And so Adolin helps the woman up, and he's like, just out of curiosity, what did you do to him? And she says, he refused to pay, claiming his reputation made it a pleasure for me. He kicked me the first time after I made a comment about his reputation. It apparently was not what he thought he was known for. Oh, that's good. I like her. She's sassy. And Adolin just laughs. He's like, I suggest you insist on being paid first from now on. Also, you really should just leave Sadeas's war camp and not come back. Not now. We will escort you to the border.
Question: what the hell is like Adolin even doing in Sadeas's camp? He hates Sadeas.
He does, but what happens is he throws a sphere to Kaladin because he's the only person left, and he says, "Ho, Bridge Boy, run and give word to Bright Lord Rerol Makarum." The Shard Bearer said that he's in the 6th Battalion. Tell him Adolin Colin won't make today's meeting. So apparently he has a meeting with Bright Lord who works for Sadeas.
Yeah, okay. I was so confused. I was like, he's going for a meeting. What's he doing here? But yeah, I guess checks out.
So yeah, what he'd be meeting somebody in Sadeas's army about, who knows? But presumably they have to have decent relations between the armies to effectively maintain their siege here.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain he had no intention of going to this meeting. He was actually just fucking around in here looking for somewhere to stir up some shit in Sadeas's camp and be like, oh no, can't make it, sorry.
That would be hilarious, actually. The sphere was an emerald chip, more than Kaladin makes in 2 weeks. And he's not going to take the message. He's just going to pocket that money and walk away. And Syl has come back and says, oh, you tried to rush to help her, very noble. And Kaladin's like, well, yeah, but it was stupid of me. Like, what was I going to do? Fight down Light Eyes? Half of the camp soldiers would have been after me. And Syl's like, you're not going to take that message? No, I'm not going to bow down to them. I'm done running at their whims just because they expect me to do so. I mean, he's not done. He still has to run bridges, but yeah, it is what it is. If he was so worried, he should have made sure that I was willing to take the message.
It's pretty funny because you know that, like, Sadeas is going to lodge a formal complaint against Adolin for it. Adolin go, look, I paid some bridge guy to take your message. Did he not deliver it? And they'll go, what bridge guy? And he describes him, and Sadeas goes, oh god, not him again.
He's going to describe him as like, that's like all the bridge guys, like downtrodden, long, scraggly hair, crappy clothes. Like, can you be more specific?
Yeah, well.
Was it the really tall one with the red hair? Because Sadeas remembers that guy and wouldn't mind punishing him further. No? Oh well. Syl does not like the darkness that comes over Kaladin when he's talking about the Light Eyes. Which, she's not exactly wrong, I feel like. And Kaladin starts thinking, I mean, that guy did step up to protect the woman, and he didn't have to do that. And he's like, no, he was just looking for a way to embarrass one of Sadeas's officers. Which is basically kind of what Dak said, where he's just hanging out waiting until they start trouble. And that's the end of that chapter. Chapter 47 was Storm Blessings. And this is where we flash back to 1 year ago, which this is basically chapter 1, but we get before and after the battle instead of just sort of the middle of the battle that we got in chapter 1. So Kaladin is, at this point, a fairly well thought of squad leader in Bright Lord Amaram's army. And he's decided that he's not going to go home. His enlistment is up in a few weeks. It's been 4 years since he joined up to protect his brother. And he cannot face his parents after having broken his promise to protect Tien. So he's just going to re-up and stay in the army. Meanwhile, he's trying to track down this other squad leader, Gare. And Gare has a new soldier named Sen. New recruit, just joined, and Kaladin wants to buy him. And we met Sen back in chapter 1, so this isn't a terrible surprise. We find out that what Amaram's army does is mostly defend against other Alethi armies that are seeking to take pieces of land that belong to Sadeas, but also sometimes Amaram's army tries to take pieces of land that belong to other High Lords. So, or High Princes, rather. So it's just, it seems like really pointless fighting to me overall. And Gare does not necessarily want to give the boy up. And Kaladin is like, look, dude, we don't have time for this. Take the money. Shut your mouth. Send the boy to my squad. And Gare's like, well, maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't like how everyone does what you tell them to do. He's like, Gare, I'm not going to give you any more money. We both know he's useless to you. Just come on. And Garrett's like, okay, you got me, man. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. I do like the posturing. I was like, well, maybe I don't like that. It's like, nah, I was just messing with you. I just wanted more money. Cool.
Yeah, you got me. You knew me. You know me, man. I'll see you the next poker game.
And apparently Kaladin makes a point of buying up these recruits who are too small to fight properly. Half of your squad is made up of these small guys. Almost makes a man think you want to get killed. So apparently he is the youngest squad leader in the army. And squad leader is the highest in rank you can go without heading to the Shattered Plains. So basically, he's made a name for himself in the 4 years that he's been in the army. We see him bribing the surgeons to come and get his wounded, which we were told in that first chapter is something he spends most of his money on. And then briefly, as he tries to throw his pouch of spheres, it sticks to his hand as a windspren zips by and makes fun of him. Oh, so is that Syl, or is that just a regular old windspren nose? The world may never know.
We'll find out, I'm sure.
And when he gets to his squad, the new kid's already there. Like, that was fast. And we are back into what we saw, because we were in Sen's perspective in that first chapter, and we saw him arriving, talking to Dalit, seeing Kaladin show up. And then we cut from the battle beginning to the point in the battle where Sen gets split from the squad, and Kaladin has to go and, like, save him single-handedly. It's very impressive. We saw that already. And then they see the light eyes in his armor. And just like we saw the last time, Kaladin's like, we're taking a Bright Lord off his throne. And Dalit's like, are you sure? And Kaladin says, that's one of Hala's officers. He might be the one. But you don't know that. Yeah, he's a battalion lord anyway. If we kill him, then we'll get to the Shattered Plains. And they do. Kaladin throws a knife in the dude's eye. It's all good. And I do like that they're not allowed to, like, steal stuff off the dead guys. Strictly prohibited. But if Amaram wanted the spoils, he could storming well kill the enemy himself. Bribes weren't cheap. So under the guise of checking if the guy is dead, Kaladin's guys are like patting him down for money. Not that they find any. And that's when we see the Shard Bearer show up. And it's just, even Kaladin is awed at his first sight of, like, shard plate and the majestic blade. And the guy came riding through their own lines, so it's almost like it's hard for him to believe that this is an enemy. Until he tramples Sen and sends his shard blade right through Dalit's head. So that's unfortunate.
Oh, enemy. Got it. That guy's not on my side.
And then you get
someone put the Juggernaut behind our lines and he just plowed through them.
Yeah. And he yelled, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. You just didn't hear it.
I always hear it.
Then we get a Kaladin like, no. And he tries to save them, but, I mean, Sen's chest has been crushed by a horse. It's not something he can fix with bandages.
Horrific.
Oh, yeah.
That's not something that a Band-Aid will fix. That's gonna be a little harder to fix.
And then as Sen dies, he gives one of those things that we've heard before. He says he watches the black piper in the night. He holds us in his palm, playing a tune that no man can hear.
Odium's a musician?
It's a little bit disturbing, whatever that is.
Have you heard that one before?
I don't think so. But then again, no one that we see is here to record it. So unless the theory about like those weird line head guys is, and that they're secretly recording these things is correct, then unless I guess maybe more than one dying person could say the same message.
It's like whoever sends the messages realize no one wrote it down. It's like, shit, okay, send that one out again.
No, yeah, I had to search just to make sure. We definitely haven't heard that one before.
Black Piper.
And so Kaladin is very upset that these people are dead. He was going to protect all these guys. No one had died this battle. It was all going so well. And in a rage, he's just going to go after the Shard Bearer, which is a bold, bold move for him to make. But it's Kaladin. He's not always great about thinking things through before he does or says them. And just as he starts to catch up with them, he sees Amaram's honor guard break and run, and Amaram is left on his own facing the Shard Bearer, who then cuts through the neck of Amaram's horse to kill it because Brandon hates horses, and the horse falls on Amaram's leg and breaks it. So that's good.
Yeah, I was going to mention that nothing more horse hate, but you beat me to it.
Brandon, what did horses do to you, man? Show me on the doll where they
Yeah.
touched you.
It's funny
Yeah.
because
Do they bite you or?
yeah, there was a thing that popped up on my Instagram feed. Like someone had sent an author a DM saying, "Why do you hate horses so much?" I'm like, "Oh shit, is Brandon stuff showing up in my feed?" But no, it's for a completely unrelated author. I'm like, is this common? Like, do a lot of fantasy authors just hate horses and punish them?
Interesting.
The author was Jay Kristoff, if anyone's curious.
Not familiar.
He's the one who wrote that book series I told you should read, the Nevernight Chronicle, because
Okay.
aside from being a really fun and really different fantasy series, it's like really fun, but it has so much footnote humor in it, you would love it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember this now.
Yeah, like I think of the new books that I've read in the past few years, they're probably up there among my favorites. Of yeah, these were fantastic to pick up off the cuff.
Nice.
I haven't read his other books though.
Let's see. Kaladin runs up and he's like, sees Amaram about to die. He's like, oh man, Amaram's like the one Light Eyes who's ever shown even a modicum of humanity. I can't let this happen. And so the Shardbearer raises his blade to come down and kill Amaram. And Kaladin hits him with the butt of his spear from behind, shattering his spear against the back of the Shardbearer's leg. Which, it's such a powerful jolt, it knocks Kaladin to the ground, and the Shardbearer just kind of stumbles a little. He's like, what the hell was that? Who would dare? The 20 remaining men of Kaladin's squad show up just behind him. This is how much they trust their squad leader. They are right there with him, attacking a Shardbearer, no matter how ridiculously foolish that might be. And they're all just like jabbing at him with their spears, but it's not doing anything because he's wearing shard plate. And he just...
I do like the description of how confused the Shardbearer is. He's like, wait, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? What? He's just like really confused. He's like, what, why?
He's just looking at them, just going, could you fucking not?
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
To be fair, it's probably been a long time since anyone's tried to jab him while wearing his shard plate too, so
Right.
I get it.
What is that, a mosquito? That's a person!
Like, he probably doesn't even need to pay much attention to them, let's be honest. But just because they're annoying, he kills 10 of them with a single stroke of his shard blade. And Kaladin is even more disturbed than before. And then 5 more go down, leaving only 4, who then retreat because you'd be really, really dumb not to after he cut down 15 of you with a couple of swipes. Kaladin, on the other hand, maybe he is that dumb because he goes for it. He picks up a spear from one of his dead friends and goes after the guy again. And his other friends are standing back like, no, what are you doing? And he manages to duck underneath one of the shard blade slices, but it like chops the top of his spear off, which like flies into the air. And Kaladin spots like the one slit in the armor, the one place where he might could get in there is the eye slit in the helmet. Just big enough for a throwing knife, but the throw would have to be absolutely perfect. And we've seen he's real good with throwing knives. And he chucks one, and it's just a little bit off. Bounces against the side of the slit and bounces back out. Which that must be pretty disturbing for the Shardbearers to have like a knife actually come into the slit and then like just kind of bounce off before it could kill you or anything. Like that would be deeply worrying for someone who thought they were invincible a second ago. And so now he's going to pay attention to Kaladin. And he goes after Kaladin, and then Kaladin sees something fall in front of him. It's that spearhead tumbling back to the ground, grabs it out of the air, right into the visor slit, and kills the Shardbearer dead. Which is just that is one of those like really cinematic moments.
Yeah.
Would love to see that.
This is just a hunch, but I get the feeling that the spearhead was guided. I think Syl was looking out for Kaladin even then.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I hadn't even thought of that. We know that he's got a Windspren messing with him, and that he has a good friend Windspren later. So yeah, no, makes sense.
Yep.
And then one of the guys is like, is he dead? And Amaram's like, he is. If he were still alive, his blade would have vanished. The armor is falling off. He's dead. blood of my ancestors. You killed a shard bearer. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, Kaladin, you're a shard bearer. Take the sword. And he reaches out and he thinks, if I take that, I'll become one of them. And all he can see on this blade is the blood of his friends that it killed in the last few minutes. All of the murders it's just done. There's no actual blood on it because shard blades don't get blood on them. They don't cut your flesh. But, like, you know, metaphorically. Men traded kingdoms for shard blades. The handful of dark-eyed men who had won them lived forever in song and story. But the thought of touching it sickened him. It represented everything he'd come to hate about the Light Eyes. He can't do it. He says, it's yours, Koreb. I give it to you. And Amaram's honor guard is, like, peeking over the edge of the hollow that they've been fighting in. Like, oh, is it over yet?
Yeah, where the fuck were you guys?
Some honor guard.
Yeah.
And so Kaladin walks away, and Amaram's like, what are you doing? Are you not going to take that? No, I don't want it. I'm giving it to my men. And he just strolls off, and that's the end of our chapters. Well, that is a hell of a dramatic moment. Kaladin saves Amaram's life, loses almost his entire squad, kills a shard bearer, and at some point it's going to end up being a slave. It can't be the too distant future, because we jumped forward in time to the beginning of this book 1 year, or 8 months, or 10, something like that, and this was 1 year ago from the present time in the books. So it can't be far off of when the thing happens. So I think we must. I think Jaymee even mentioned she has got some theories about what may have happened here. So let's move into it. Predicaments. Where are we going from here?
Yeah, I mean, I did have a theory, but it kind of got spilled anyway. I think it was Jack just talking about Amaram can't trust Kaladin anymore. One way to get him out is to put him in as a slave. I did have a think about maybe like Amaram killed the guy who Kaladin had given the blade to get the blade himself, but I don't think we've heard that Amaram is a shard bearer. So I don't know whether they would tell everyone that they're shard bearers. We haven't really had much to do. I can't imagine Stadius would stand for that, having another shard bearer in his army. And I imagine that would make him a lot higher than what he is now. So yeah, I was kind of going with you can't trust, like, you don't want Kaladin to spread any stories either about how Amaram's honor guard like left him or anything like that. Like, that would be, I guess, shameful to the army, and you wouldn't want those stories getting back to Stadius. So sell him into slavery. That's much better. Or something happens between now and then where, because Kaladin's lost all his army, you know, poor performance and being, you know, you're no use to us anymore. Maybe they don't want him back in the army and he doesn't want to go home. So does something stupid. I don't know. Not sure how. There's many, many ways that Kaladin can be put into slavery. Now, you would think for the way that he fought and the luck that seems to be on his side, that Amaram would want somebody like that. And maybe he does want someone like that. It could go the other way. Maybe it's not a trust thing. Maybe it's Amaram does want him, but Kaladin doesn't want to stay. And, you know, he's like, well, if you're not going to be with me, you're going to go into slavery. I can't see him being that inhumane, given sort of the introduction that we've had. Like, Kaladin's got at least some respect for him. But Thaddeus even could be the reason that he's in slavery, because this guy's just killed a shard bearer. It's pretty dangerous. You don't want him out there doing that to anyone else, potentially. He's killed a shard bearer they're fighting each other for land. But at the end of the day, when we have to go to the Shattered Plains or actually fight for protection of the overall borders, he's just taken down a shard bearer in the army. Like, that's not good either. So, yeah, if you're then not willing to fight for the army, many, many ways for him to go into slavery.
That's a fair point about, like, we're down one shard bearer. Except, I mean, I assume somebody will get the blade and the armor, whether it's Koreb or whoever it is. But also, I guess we don't know that this guy was a Lethi. He could have been from another country, and then we're up one set of shards in that case.
I mean, true, but why would they be here?
Good question. That's fair, yeah.
Yeah. Not to say that they couldn't be. They obviously could be, but that would be a weird spot to go with it first.
It's true, and they seem, I don't know, it seemed to me like they were after Amaram, because they seemed to like make a beeline for the guys, so.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe it's personal.
Yeah.
Maybe he pissed somebody off. He dumped somebody's sister and they're after him.
Yeah, you don't want to dump sisters, man. That's dangerous.
But you're right. Amaram has, like Kaladin says in this chapter, is like the one guy who's Light Eyes who's been even kind of honorable. But the one piece of information we have about his slavery is the slaver told us Amaram is the one who originally sold him into slavery. So his opinion may change between now and then.
Oh, and he obviously clearly doesn't like Light Eyes, even like present day Kaladin. So, and he doesn't talk about Amaram being a good guy. So something's got to have gone down there between them. So hopefully we get that soon. I think when we meet like the present day Kaladin, it's 8 months later.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So presumably he's now been in Bridge 4 for about 4 months or something, or whatever their time frame works out to be. Yeah, I don't really have much more on that. The Parshmen in Bridge 4, don't really know enough about the Parshmen, just really what other people have said about the Parshmen. Could be a real advantage for them, could go horribly wrong. Who really knows? If now he's part of Kaladin's crew and therefore like he effectively serves Kaladin, then he's loyal to Kaladin, not his people. I guess on some level that'll be. I'm interested to see how that unfolds, and also I'm not sure which set of chapters it is brought up in, but once they all know how to fight, how are they actually going to get out of there? Like something's going to have to happen there. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know, hide weapons further down the chasm or something and sneak out of the camp. Like I don't really know how they're going to go, or rely on some massive war between the different armies.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially could provoke a war now with the different armies because Kaladin has not wanted to pass on a message from Adolin. So that would cause some sort of conflict. He's now just not going to show up, which who knows what that would have been, some sort of peacekeeping talks or whatever. You could definitely create some ripples in there. The stuff with Syl and Odium, that's interesting. It's not so much just like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about Odium. The hissing and running away is extreme in terms of responses you could have. Yeah. So she knows a lot more than what she probably even knows she does, or definitely more than she's willing to talk to Kaladin about. And I'm still really curious about what Teft knows and how that kind of ties into the whole thing as well. Yeah, I fear that I've got a lot more questions now than I had at the beginning of even the recording today. So many options.
Every time we get answers, it's just more questions.
More questions. There's always another secret.
Right? Exactly. See? It's we still don't know anything about what Teft knows. That's true. That's still to come, hopefully. And then, you're just making me think of all the questions that we now have, even just coming out of these chapters. So maybe we'll get more answers someday.
I mean, I hope we do. I hope it's not, 4 books away. I'd like to know some answers before the end of the book. What I'm hoping for now is that, yes, we're starting probably into Sanderlanche territory. All the information and knowledge nuggets as they were that have been sewn into the story so far, I'm hoping will kind of come together. The storyline that we really don't know a lot about now is what the hell's happening to Shallan's family.
Mm-hmm.
And that we've sort of got the confirmation that rumors are spreading that he's not, like, he's quite reclusive, like the father who's obviously dead. Her time is running out to sort that part of her story out. and that part of it's not going to go away, even if like she's found herself on maybe a different path now. She's able to use the soulcaster. Like, where her story's going to take her now? Is she going to go home? Is she going to go somewhere else? Like, does she even make it home? That's probably the storyline we haven't really explored a lot. And Dalinar, obviously, we haven't seen in a little while as well. So kind of curious what he's up to and how he will then slot back in to the rest of the story too.
It's interesting you say that she used Soulcaster, because she definitely Soulcasted, although she wasn't touching the Soulcaster and has no idea how she did it. So she's used it once. Whether that means she can use it again, I think is an open question.
Oh, true. And also, is that normal? Can you use a Soulcaster without actually wearing it or touching it, or?
She's never heard of someone doing that, is I think what she says in that chapter. So who knows? Maybe something extra weird is happening.
I mean, I think being able, like, her ability to just kind of look at something and then knowing it, memorizing, like she's calling it storing memory, like she's taking an image of that memory. That in itself seems unusual.
That's true. Yeah, we didn't really pay much attention to that. I think somebody mentioned when we first saw it that maybe there's some sort of magic there, but you're right. It's weird.
So let's kind of take this piece by piece. I realized when I did my description of the chapters and also my review of the chapters that I did them backwards. I don't know why in my head I had them backwards, but I did.
Yeah, I thought that when you did it, but I was like, we'll just go with it. It's fine. They're the right two chapters.
He was doing chronological order rather than chapter order.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I just assumed the flashback was first. I don't know why, but yeah. So I guess let me address them in the appropriate order this time. So my first thought is at the beginning of the chapter with Kaladin and his dream and like being face to face and this other person, like this other face, like saying odium and stuff like that, is like, to me, that's got to be another shard. The only time we've seen faces in the sky other than this point was a shard. So I would assume that this is also a shard. I don't know what shard it would be, but I think it's got to be, especially because they say the name odium. They say the most, dangerous of the 16 or whatever it was. They say, like, who else is going to have that information besides possibly Hoyd? And I don't think Hoyd has the ability to do what this thing just did.
Hoyd is the voice in the storm now.
Yeah, somehow.
Confirmed.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
really traded up from Beggar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to say that my predicament is that this voice talking to Kaladin is a shard. I know we're reaching back to last week. I don't think the voice talking to Shallan is a shard. I'd be interested to know what the differences are between these two things. But for some reason, I feel like it's something different. And so we've got that piece there. I think, like I said, I'm hoping this is like kind of the start of the Sanderlanche getting rolling. I think the Parchment being on their team is going to be like really good for them, even though it seems like it's supposed to be some kind of trap or a trick. I think it's going to end up being really good for them somehow. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work yet, but I think it's actually going to benefit them in some way. And also, I think they're going to be able to. They're probably not going to end up escaping, would be my guess. I don't think they're going to end up escaping. I think that Adolin is going to remember Kaladin more than maybe we think he's going to. And
you owe me one emerald chip.
Yeah, exactly. Not in that way, not in a negative way, but I think somehow, I'm really hoping somehow that Kaladin's going to end up working for Dalinar, and then Dalinar / Adolin, they're going to like be like, well, we wanted to like instigate bridge crews. How would you do it? And then he's going to end up like being in charge of that. And Sadeas will be happy to be rid of him. He'll be like, the troublemaker, I don't want him. And hopefully in doing that, he'll be able to bring like his whole bridge crew with him. That'd be nice. And so that's my predicament for that part. And then, yeah, with the flashback, I mean, I guess we can make a predicament on what happened in the past here. Yeah, I'm going to say that after denying the shard blade, like, even though he said, I don't want it, you take it, Amaram's going to try to like insist that he take it. And when he doesn't take it, Amaram's going to take that like very poorly. Either that, or he's going to try, even if he doesn't make Kaladin take it, he's going to try to promote him. And Amaram's going to be like, yeah, no. Or Kaladin's going to say, no, I don't want to be promoted. I want to leave after my tour is done now. And Amaram's going to be like, no, you're not doing that. So like the day before his tour is supposed to end, he's gonna get sold or something. Like gonna get, like some kind of criminal charges, maybe insubordination. I don't know if insubordination is considered like a criminal charge in this world, but it's very possible based on their kind of religious structure that like not wanting to go to war anymore could be considered like a crime for their people. So yeah, I think that's going to be what we can expect. One of those two scenarios I would think is going to play out. Overall, with where we're going, man, I feel like I say this every week. We've read so much, but I feel like there's so many more questions than answers. And of course, this is the first book in an epic series, so
right.
It's very possible that when Brandon was writing this, he didn't expect any of these stories to be standalone, and that there's not going to be really a satisfying conclusion to a lot of our questions or story-wise. It may just literally end, and then the next book picks up. So I don't know. I'm just going to say maybe Dalinar dies at the end of the book. That's as much as I know. But yeah, that's all I got.
What you said about like Amaram offering him a promotion or something and him turning it down, that would fit with his statement earlier about like light eyes don't take it well when you turn down their gifts or something.
Yeah, that, and he could even consider or he could even be straight up saying like the gift was the shard stuff that I won, but I don't want it.
Right.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I almost wanted it to happen though, because we don't know. I guess we don't know if the guy on his team that he gave, quote unquote, gave the shard stuff to was also not a light eyes. It sounded like he wasn't, because he's like, but did they even say your eyes turn light? I want to see it just happen on page so that we're like, we can have confirmation.
Right.
Does it work or does it not? Because it's like Kaladin's probably the first non-light eyes to win a shard plate and shard sword like in who knows how long. So like we didn't get to see it happen. I'm like, just let me see it happen. So maybe that'll be the end of the book.
It could be. He's turned it down once, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't get it somewhere else. I feel like there's a question of if it does work, is it the sword? You pick up a sword, you become a light eyes, or is it the armor, or is it you have to have both?
Oh, I would think that it would be either one.
Yeah.
Because well, now that you say that, because the sword is the thing that comes to you. The armor, it just sits. I guess
you have to put it on or whatever.
I was going to say, is it like, does the armor count in this? Or I thought in the previous conversations they only ever talked about the sword.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it has to be the weapon, because the weapon's the thing that can come to you from nowhere. Like the armor has to be put on and taken off.
Yeah, but I mean, Sadeas is still considered a shard bearer, even though he just has armor and not the sword.
Yeah, shard plate. Yeah, I don't know. We don't know enough about how these things were fashioned or like what the magic involved with them is to really say.
That's a fair point. I also like you brought up that Shallan is also hearing a weird voice. And I agree that they don't sound all that similar. Like the one that Kaladin is hearing is very like dramatic proclamations, whereas the one that Shallan was hearing is like,
what are you?
I'm scared. And the voice is like, that's true.
That's true. I agree with you. That assessment is correct.
Story checks out.
So yeah, if these are the same guy or girl or whatever, then it likes Shallan a lot more than it likes him or something. I don't know.
Shallan indeed terrified. Voice will help.
Voice will help. Okay. Yeah.
And then it did.
So yeah, some interesting possibilities you bring up, and some amusing. No Cabsol Jam Addict talk yet.
Nah,
we still got Dak to go.
Yeah,
he wasn't in the chapters.
It's true.
That's true. He wasn't in the chapters. Capsule, I mean, we talked about him enough last week. We can talk about it again when he's on page.
we talked about him so much last week.
Yeah, he's a real freak.
Just lying on the couch, just covered in jam. He's like, I have a problem.
Yeah.
I was aware of the jam addiction discussion that had happened.
Oh, Jaymee, I can't wait for you to hear it in like reality. We just kept going.
Yeah, I will definitely be listening to that one.
Yeah, there was no diminishing returns on the comedy that was Cabsol the Jam Addict.
Oh, I'm still laughing. Like that was very much Jaymee got home and was like, "Oh, you're not going to believe what we talked about today."
She's like, "Okay."
Yep. I don't have too much. Actually, I got a couple of things in my head. And it's like these are minor. Actually, one of them could be big. But so the first one, I think I predicted before. So I think Bridge 4 down in the chasm going to be practicing their spear hefting and stuff like that. And now they're just like, well, what the fuck do we do with this parchment? And Kaladin's like, just keep going. He'll be fine. And they're also worried about what will happen if Sadius and the other lords find out they're planning an escape attempt. But I've talked before, it's like they'll be down in the chasm and they'll run into a bunch of Parshendi. I still think that's going to happen, but now with the additional wrinkle that they've got a Parshman there with them, like maybe Kaladin will just pull a fast one. It's like, oh, take him back, he needs you, and he gives Shen over to the Parshendi. The Parshendi just like okay, and they take Shen and return to their home without fighting. And then like later on in the books, they'll come across like Shen and the Parshendi again, and they'll just like learn to like thanks to that example, they'll realize, not all the Alethi are total dicks.
I feel like that's something we are having trouble realizing because most of them kind of are.
You don't know them.
What, the Alethi?
Like, sorry, the Parshendi. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I like your determination. Like Kaladin is gonna hang out with Parshendi at some point. We're gonna see it.
Well, like in this case, it may not be Kaladin hanging out with them, but it's like a good way. It's like yeah, he's one of us. Let's give him back to his people, and that way we don't have to worry about killing him. And then they'll get up top and it's like, hey, where'd the Parshmen go? Got eaten by a Chasm Fiend.
Yeah, sucks. But
Chasm Fiend actually wasn't interested in us. It was walking away, and the Parshmen just chased after, just going, I must worship. We never saw him again. So that's that one. The second one I have, I'm still, I'm trying to make sense of the shards on this world, because I swear when we read the Scadrial system in Arcanum Unbounded, it said that Scadrial was unique in that it had a 2-shard system.
We know that Cell was also 2 shards. So
yeah, but we didn't know that when we read.
We didn't know that when we read it.
That essay, because then we got to Cell and we found out, oh yeah, it had 2 as well. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's 4 out of 16 already. Like there's not that many of them left. Like if you have one more planet with Dishardic, which this one could be, I guess. I don't know, because there was something. And this might be a very long bow to draw, but bear with me on this. This is actually due to the song you picked for this book. Something twigged in me while the big voice is talking to Kaladin. He calls him child of someone who was a name started with T, and then he said child of Tanavast, and then he said child of honor, and that made me think like when honor died. Wait a second. Why did Data pick that song, I wonder, specifically? Like, I know it's got sort of like it has sort of an Eastern culture vibe to the song with some of the music, but I was thinking like when honor dies, like, and now I think about it, honor's come up a bit in these books, and now it is capitalized as sort of a name. I'm like, is honor a shard on this planet? Maybe is that who? I don't think that's the big voice, because. Why would honor be saying you are child of honor? I'm not ready to be a single dad, so I'm not going to tell you that's me. So I don't think the shard in the storm is honor, but I think honor might be a shard somewhere on this planet. Some like, okay, so honor and this other shard are also forming a dishardic system on this planet. It's like that's actually 3 out of not many planets we visited that have 2 shards. So that's confusing, because I don't think Odium was part of the equation. I actually think the Shattered Plains, I think it mentioned like it looked like something crashed on them or something when you look at it from the air. I'm like, was that Odium just like with his dynamic entry to this planet? It's like, I'm here, bitches, crashing into the ground.
That would be dramatic, yeah. Okay.
Like riding a fucking comet into the planet, just going like, I'm here to fuck things up.
I really hope he said, I'm here, bitches.
Exactly. I'm here for that.
And then like honor in this other shard in the storm, and just like oh no. But yeah, so yes, I think that maybe there is a shard on this planet, and their name is Honor, and they're not the one in the storm.
Okay. I mean, I like that you're pulling the song into it. I will point out that I have said before when we first started the book, that the inspiration for the song was the fact that chapter 2 of this book is called Honor is Dead. That's when Kaladin has become a slave 8 months later after being a soldier. But that doesn't mean that it couldn't also be what Dak is saying. So
it's true. Maybe Brandon was trying to go ahead.
You go.
I was gonna say maybe Brandon was trying to point out early that honor is dead.
Yeah, it could be it's a multiple meaning thing. I'll also take this opportunity to point out that I can at times have a very terrible memory because I do not remember that. So I'll get sticking with it.
And I'll also I went back to the Scadrial essay to revisit what you were talking about, and it says the sentence here is Scadrial, another dishardic planet, is characterized by a host of unique features. It is one of only 2 places in the Cosmere where humankind does not predate the arrival of shards. So that's probably the section you were thinking about.
Okay, so again, terrible memory because I could have sworn that said it was like Scadrial was unusual for being a dishardic system. Clearly, I was mistaken, so let's just move on from that.
I think there may be. Hold on, I'm going to go to the Cell essay real quick because I think there may be something like that in the Cell essay. Cell is notable for being dishardic, one of the few planets in the Cosmere to attract 2 separate shards of Adonalcium. So it says there's only a few of them, which, I mean, there could only be as many as 8, I guess. But
but like it wouldn't say one of the few if all the planets were dishardic. So
you would think not, right? Yeah.
So
I mean, depending on how many planets there are, even if there were 8, that would still be only a few planets.
Right. Well, and we know the White Sands planet was single shardic, right?
Yeah. I don't. Autonomy doesn't
Autonomy's
like
home.
friends.
Right.
I think
so.
The Warbreaker one was also single shard.
Yes, because what didn't we name it? Wouldn't it
was like
Endowment? Is that what it was?
Endowment. That's the one.
Endowment is the shard there. Yep.
We've never met, and we may never if I already even got to them first.
It's true. Yeah. Okay. Well, I like some of Dak's ideas. I love actually that he's bringing the song into it. Like, I'm gonna read into everything that I can read into, and I'm gonna go for it, and I love that. I'm enjoying.
Let's swing for the fences. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Before we move off the topic, did we ever find out who was the shard on First of the Sun?
Actually, I believe. And hold on, I'm gonna go back to Arcanum Unbounded for that too, because when we read the essay on that one, I believe there wasn't one.
First of the Sun, is that the Sixth of Dusk?
Sixth of Dusk, yeah.
There are many inhabited planets in the Cosmere. There are many planets in the Cosmere that are inhabited, but upon which no shards currently reside. Is the beginning of that essay.
Okay.
This planet is unusual because there is a perpendicularity, but no shard. It's kind of what is described in the essay.
Well, I mean,
so maybe there was a shard there and they left.
Well, I mean, we know that Odium is jumping around trying to kill other shards, and we also know that like that the island at least was full of things that were very hateful in trying to kill everything that moved. So that could have been Odium's home, and he's just like, fuck this, and left.
He travels around trying to kill dudes, but when he goes home, this is where he goes. Maybe.
Yeah. This is my murder island.
Yeah. Is any shard like tied to the land specifically, unless they've separated their body and their spirit? Like, technically, couldn't any of them leave? Or maybe their power's too far away for life to sustain itself? I don't know.
It's a fair question. We know that like Ruin and Preservation like worked together to basically create a planet and the people on it, and like invested heavily of themselves in that planet. So I think there might be a question of whether either of them could have left easily. I mean, Ruin obviously not after he got trapped in the well and stuff, but even before that, I don't know whether or not they could have left. But
even when he got free, he didn't decide, I'm free, I'm gonna go jump back into space. He's like, no, I'm gonna stay here.
That's because he was looking for his body. He was trying to find that adium.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and he was gonna destroy the planet.
There's another note in this essay that I thought I would point out just because it's sort of relevant to where we are now. It says the system, nicknamed Drominad, that's the Sixth of the Dusk one, has a remarkable 3 planets inhabited by fully developed human societies. This is unique in the Cosmere. Only the Rosharan system can rival it, and there, one of the planets is inhabited solely by splinters with a capital S.
Oh, okay.
A race of martial arts knowing rat men. Got it.
Splinters. No, man, I think
Splinter is awesome, so I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, splinters to me sound like broken up investiture, like the shard, whatever shard it was, broke even further.
Well, isn't that what the Aeons, not the Aeons, the Scions and those Skays thing, like the Dark Ones were in Elantris? Like they were just like the shattered part
Shard
of the
power.
shards that sort of gained a vague form of sentience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Splinter.
Whoa, guys!
They're like
I just
beings
got
made of magic.
I got a crazy idea. If Roshar's full of splinters, and we know that Ruin's body formed crystals, what if the Chasm Fiends, what if the Gem Hearts are the bodies of the shards?
Oh shit!
That'd be crazy.
It would be really well defended, much more well defended than Atium, when it just grew in a cave. These grow inside giant monsters.
Inside giant monsters.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so yes, there's some little nuggets of previously read stuff that you guys can chew on and see how it fits into what we're seeing. In the meantime, we got some stuff to do. We got emails. We got one new patron, so we will start with the new patron. So our new patron at the Ska level this week is Marla.
Marla, you're a spinner. You store fortune.
Nice. That's got to be one of the good ones. You can go to the casino or whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, what kind of bad luck stuff was happening to you on the day you were storing it?
Yeah, you turn into like Job on those days.
Yeah, that would be not great.
We've got a couple people who sent in screenshots of reviews, so I guess get that ready as I go into the emails.
Ooh, okay. So I got to get my misting list out. It's been a while. So again, if you guys want to join the misting crew, you just give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and send it in to us.
Yep.
Let's see, misting types. Let me pull up
it'll
all
be
the
it'll
mystics.
be a while before I get to that. So you.
Okay, go ahead.
So the first one is from Sir Hambino, is their Discord name. They say they're on the Discord with us, and it says, "Hey gang, hey Sanderlanchians, my name is Sir Hambino on the Discord. I found you guys in mid 2023. I live in Central Mississippi. That's MS, right? It says Central MS, so Mississippi, and I'm so happy that some of you guys are from a state close to here and from across the world. I've been talking to my wife about Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter and how I wanted to read his books. Lo and behold, my wife bought me the Stormlight Archive box set and told me she thought I would absolutely love them.
Nice.
While looking for a reading order, I knew his stuff was connected in some way. I stumbled upon data suggesting you guys podcast on Reddit. After doing some research, I realized that your guys' reading order and the podcast would be perfect companion to my Sanderson journey. Now, almost a year later, I've almost caught up and I'm halfway through Warbreaker. I'm also so excited to be able to finally be able to read the huge books that started the whole thing. I got a friend of mine to start reading the books with me at the end of 2023. He has to do audiobooks as he's dyslexic, and he said Sanderson is easily his favorite author. For Warbreaker, we were reading about 3 weeks worth of your podcast and then discussing it. I generally have to read the entire book first before I listen to the podcast, as you guys are so good at catching stuff, and I want to read the books as blind as can be. I know it will be a while before I hear this, as far as y'all are so far into the Way of Kings, but I just wanted to thank you so much for what you all do. If you've already talked about this recently, disregard, but any news on Sanderlanche merch? I think you guys could pull one or two things out and keep them sold. Anyway, thanks for reawakening my love of reading, fantasy, and making me and my friends' relationships get so much closer. Love you, Sir Hambino. And then they sent a quick follow-up. Do you think you guys will be able to catch up with Stormlight 5 before it releases, or are you going to have to wait and read it until maybe next year?
No. No way we could get through that many books by November.
No, this one has already taken us, and we're still
23 weeks now.
Not quite that long. We are at this was 20. So
Yeah,
if you count the weeks that we sat out,
yeah, that's what I mean. The weeks that we sat out.
But so we are now. What percentage after that chapter is done? We are now. The next chapter is called Strawberry. There it is. We're 68% of the way through the book. So just past that 2/3 mark.
Yeah, wow.
And it's already been 20 weeks. There's no way by the end of the year we're finishing this and also 2 more or 3 more. Sorry, of these thingies. Also, as I mentioned, the next chapter is called Strawberry. I wonder if you guys can make guesses about what that's related to.
Well, it's got to be some Capsule Jam.
Good times.
Yep.
And as far as the merch goes, I don't have any news that I can give you guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
There you have it.
still looking into it, still trying, but yeah. Thank you, Sir Hambino, for your email. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I hope that you are stuck with it long enough to get through Warbreaker and make it to where we are now and hear your email. Hello from the world of yesterday.
Yesteryear.
Yeah.
Starting.
Might be yesteryear, depending on how long it takes them to read through Warbreaker. And then this
well, man, hopefully not. We're
just started the
this
year,
in-
so yeah. Probably
Yeah,
not.
we're recording this in March, so.
The next email is from Bob. Bob's title is, I finished the entire pod in 3 weeks. Hello, Sanderlanche crew.
Jesus Christ.
Why?
I started listening in early February when Brando Sando announced the release date for Stormlight 5. I needed a way to update myself on the lore of the Cosmere, and this podcast has been an awesome refresher. You guys clearly have a great chemistry, and the side tangents only add to the show. For context, I'm a dairy farmer, so I spend many hours outside working. Several years ago, I started listening to all podcasts at 2 times speed. Audiobooks, 1.5 to 2. Pretty sure I fried my brain because every time I listen at 1 times speed, it makes my brain hurt. Overall, love the pod. Hope it continues for years to come. And then for data, yes, I agree with you, Bob. That is that will be amusing.
Yeah.
He's a dairy farmer. Like, are we really something you should listen to while operating heavy machinery?
It doesn't have to be heavy machinery, I guess. If you're running on milking cows, I assume. I don't know. Professional dairy farmers probably don't manually milk the cows, but
I mean,
I don't know. I've never been a dairy farmer. So.
I was gonna say, it's like, great, it takes a question of this podcast to make me realize how little I know about dairy farming.
Right?
And then I think to myself, why would I know about dairy farming?
You mean you don't milk your own cows? Jeez.
My uncle used to own a farm with cows on it, but that was for Angus beef.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a dairy farm.
That was not dairy.
You have lots and lots of cows around here. Probably also for beef mainly.
I mean, isn't that one of the big stereotypes about Texans, that you guys are like the capital of steaks?
Yep. Come here. We cook steaks correctly. That's all I can say. Don't order your steak well done. You will be looked down on.
No, that is a crime.
Yeah, see, there you go. My grandmother used to do that. But I think there's a thing with older people because it's like once upon a time you were more likely to get food poisoning if you didn't like cook stuff really thoroughly.
Yeah.
And then Bob sent a second email where he attaches his 5-star Spotify rating.
Bob, you are, you know what? I haven't given this one out in a while. You're a coin shot, Bob.
Nice.
Hey.
Yeah.
Pew pew.
Let's see. We got a couple more emails. Let's read just one more for now, and I'll save one for next time. It says, this is from Calder. The title is, you have a great podcast. Hello, Data, Joe, Dak, and Jaymee. Your podcast is a thoroughly enjoyable experience. I recently finished my reread of all the major books in the Cosmere and was feeling a Sanderson void in my heart that this has filled. I started listening early January, and I've reached episode 133. That's 50 episodes till the most recent. I reviewed on Spotify because I don't own Apple products. I'm loving the predicament in the Lost Metal so far, and can't wait to reach the Stormlight books, though I'm glad you did the Cell books first. Thanks, from Calder, and then he attached his Spotify rating.
Calder, we appreciate you rating us, and you are a pulsar. More useful than you think.
That's what Marisai learned.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to save the last one, and let's move into, for next time, we're finishing part 3 by reading 6 more chapters. That's 48, 49, 50, and 51, and then interlude 7 and interlude 8.
Damn.
So it'll be a nice little chunk of chapters for us.
Yeah.
Chunky.
All the knowledge nuggets.
Yeah, you know, there's going to be some interesting, that strawberry chapter, outrageous.
Mhm.
You won't even believe how crazy it gets.
Does she get like a lot of chicken nuggets in her mouth, or like that are actually knowledge?
You say strawberry, and that just makes me think, man, we're gonna find Cabsal. I'll make another Simpsons reference. Cabsal and Jam is like Barney and beer. It's like he's just gonna be sitting under a vat, opening the valve so it just pours straight into his mouth.
Yeah.
And then he'll turn over. It's like, uh-oh, my heart just stopped. Ah, there it goes. Turn it back on.
He's just like he's like scooping jam out with his hands, just crying like it's so good.
Don't look
I
at
can't
me.
If anyone would like to send us an email like these folks did, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on X and Twitter and Patreon, where this week I failed to post any new of my Defiant read through, but I have edited a couple more. So next week, which when you're listening to this episode will be last week, but next week for me, the episodes will start back up of me reading Defiant for the Patreon. So check that out if you're interested in hearing my reactions as I read Defiant for the first time. They opened this week submissions for panels for the next Dragonsteel Con.
Oh,
and
nice.
I have submitted a panel proposal, and so we will see how that goes. No idea. It seems like this next one is going to be a big one because the hotel room, they put up the blocks of hotel rooms for the convention and they sold out like real fast.
Yeah.
And then they put up a second block of hotel rooms and they sold out. So the tickets haven't even gone on sale and people have snapped up all the hotel rooms. So this is going to be a big one. And they may have cooler things to do than go with the proposed panel, but we'll find out. If I do end up, I'm planning on going either way. I've got my hotel room. I jumped on that block of the first time, and so I've got my hotel room reserved. And so I'll be there either way, and probably bring some of that sweet Sanderlanche pass out merch that we had last time. So if you're planning on going, find me regardless of. Although if we do end up having a panel, everyone should come because if no one shows up, it'll be very sad.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the big Kickstarter is kicking off next week, which once again, when you hear this will be last week, for the Words of Radiance leatherbound.
That's right.
The internet has been buzzing. Also, over the last couple of weeks, Brandon, as he releases videos, he does weekly update videos. He does other sorts of videos that he releases on YouTube. The videos have had the numbers 631 snuck into them in various places, sometimes more well hidden than others. And the entire fandom has been buzzing about what 631 could possibly mean. At this point, on his YouTube channel, I think he's up to video number 628. So the most popular theory is that video 631 will have some sort of special announcement in it. But that's what's going on in the Sanderson fandom in the last couple of weeks. Is everyone is talking about 631 and coming up with insane predictions about what it could possibly mean. So that's been fun. And that includes, there's been buzz about it on our Discord and some of the other places that I frequent. So anyway, I'm ready to jump on to that Kickstarter as well and get my next leatherbound book. It'll be very nice. So that's your random update on Sanderson news that will be out of date by the time this episode airs. So there you go. Thank you, everybody, for listening. People on our Discord, if you want to join our Discord, there's a link at our website, www.thesanderlanche.com. Thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. To everyone out there, 6 chapters for next time. And wasing to the time of next. Colo, music by Miracle of Sound. P.S. Vasher, grab at.
Ghost of the fallen, the wind is ever guide, and vengeance a calling, a spectre in the night. Ghost of the fallen, golden wings are dried, and feet in the source so the world can return to life.
I remembered in the middle, and I was going to get it out of there before I forget again.
That was real smooth.
Yeah,
that
thank
was
you.
nice.